Guys, it's time for the Prepstead project number 2. Pretty excited about these. These are really fun to do. May come a time when feeding is going to be an option for you to feed yourself, give yourself some really good protein. Now, I always suggest that you put fishing string in your preps, hooks, they go on sale. I mentioned it in my morning talk this morning. Grab that stuff. It's half off. I mean, sometimes you can get it for like 10 cents. So grab that stuff, put it in your preps. But it's not going to last forever. And it may deteriorate a little bit too, get brittle, the nylon string and the bobbers and whatnot. So you may need to make your own so you can go fishing and get your own, acquire a good source of protein. So I am going to teach you today, or get you started, because you're going to have to teach yourself. This is not something that I'm going to be able to tell you what to do, and then you're going to jump right out and do it. Okay, so, most of you know I spin wool. Started out spinning with the spindle first, and then got my wheel. This is a spindle. This is a fancy spindle. This is weighted. It's, it's not cheap. My mother-in-law gave me this. It's my good spindle. It's the one when I'm really wanting to make some string that's worth something. I use this spindle. But you don't have to do this. Let me introduce you to, spindle. Now this one I hand painted, so it's a bit on the fancy side. Here's a plain one. It doesn't have the hook on it. But we'll go ahead and use this one because I think it's loose. Yep, it is. Okay, so here's what these are. This is a wheel. There's a company online, American Crafts. It's like a wholesale craft supply company. And they sell all kinds of things. I mean, they sell everything. And these are wheels for wooden cars. These are 1/4-inch dowel rods. Get them at the hardware store. Ashley bought these from them too. But anyway, they already have the hole in them that fit. Okay. Now, like I said before, this one is a bottom whorl, is what they call that, when the whorl is at the bottom. This one would be what you'd want to start with. Now, I used to make these and sell them all the time. I used to put a little point on the end, have my hook on top. This one's kind of bent. For like 10 bucks, I would sell this and some wool, and I would give you a little tutorial to get you started and begin you on your way to spinning. So, easy to make. If you don't want to go out and spend the money on a good fancy spindle, this is probably about 60 bucks. This is going to be less than 5 bucks with all the pieces. I actually bought like a package of 12 and a package of 12, and it was like less than 10 bucks. So, not including shipping. So, it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe just go down to Hobby Lobby or Michael's and see what they've got. I like these because they do have some weight to them. Spindles aren't going to work unless they've got a little bit of weight to them. They've got to be able to turn. That's what's so great about these, is they're weighted, so they turn for a long time. These don't turn quite so long, but they get the job done, and they get the job done for cheap. Okay, so that's your tutorial about spindles. And of course, you guys know you can message me if you have any questions, any further questions beyond what I talk about in the video. Okay, now we're going to talk about fiber. Okay, there are all kinds of different fibers. It's what you call staple link. And what that is, I'll just take some of this right here. Okay, this is the fiber that we're going to be using today. And you will see, now what a staple length is how long each individual little piece of fiber is. And how you're going to find that out is you're going to pinch the bottom of it, and you're going to pull. And some of it's going to pull away, and that's fine. That's fine. and you're going to pull, and you're going to pull until nothing else pulls away. So the fiber we're going to be working with today has got about a 2-inch staple length. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, that's not an easy staple length to spin. But that's okay, because we're not looking to make, you're not knitting a shawl or weaving a blanket, you're making fishing line, so don't worry about it. Now, this is wool, okay, and I'm guessing it's probably Lancashire, which was the breed of sheep that I owned, and they have not a, well, in the fiber world, it's considered a short staple length, but it's really kind of a medium staple length, and it's about 3 to 4 inches. Now, you can get staple lengths clear up to 7 or 8 inches when you buy alpaca wool. It's got a really long staple length. The longer the staple length, the easier it is to spin. Other thing I want to show you, and I'm going to show you on this wool because it'll just be easier. Okay, so we've got our, now you'll see how I can pull this right apart. I think that shows up pretty good. Let me do it again. Let me do it against my black. See how if I pull that, it comes right apart. Okay, so that's not good. That's not going to do us any good. But if I twist it, and put a little twist in this thread, let me just twist and twist for a bit. All of a sudden, we don't pull apart anymore. We've given it strength. This is putting in a twist. And we can go into woolen twist, or, what is it, woolen or knitted, or I can't even remember them anymore, but it depends on which way you twist it on which one you get, which is kind of irrelevant. But anyway, this is what you're looking for, and of course you have to set that, which we'll get into, because if I let that go, boom, off it goes. Okay, so next thing I want to introduce you to are carders. Now, I have a traditional set of carders. These are about 150 bucks. Yeah, they're not cheap. Don't know why they're so expensive either, but whatever. You don't have to have these. Now, if you do happen to have them, awesome for you. Maybe great-grandma had some that somebody inherited and don't know what to do with them. Look at the thrift store, at the antique store. You never know. You'll probably pay 40 or 50 bucks for them, though, at the antique store. You don't need these, though. You can go to the dollar store and buy dog brushes. Now, and I'm trying to get one cleaned up for you. Here we go. Hopefully you're going to be able to see, and anybody who has dogs already knows this. See how those pins or needles or combs, whatever you want to call them, are bent into one direction. If I put this one up and go the same direction, they're going to be bent in the same direction. Okay. What you're going to need to do is make a Rolag, okay? And that's basically a little tube of fiber, okay? These, by the way, are $1. $1. Everything's a dollar store. I used to have a whole bunch of these because this is what I taught the kids on how to card wool with. Something they could do and something they could afford. Alright, so you've cut open your pillow and you've got your big piece of stuffing, okay? And it's probably going to be in a big wad, especially if it's an old pillow, and it's probably going to be kind of hard. But if you pull off some of it, pull off your big piece of it, and you can see it's kind of hard looking and matted. Okay, so just pull some off. Okay? Now I already had some pulled off. Now what I want you to do with that is just tear it all up, loosen it all up, because it's matted. Put some air in it, fluff it up, loosen it up, okay? So it's a nice, big, fluffy piece of fiber. Now this is most of the time going to be a synthetic fiber, probably a nylon, which is what you kind of want for a fishing line or a rope. It's got a little bit of extra strength. Bugs aren't going to get into it and eat it. It's going to have some resilience in water. However, know that wool will too. Wool is also fiber retardant, where this will probably melt in a fire, or if it gets close enough to hot enough heat. And you could use wool, but you know, you may not have wool. You might be able to get a hold of an old pillow, and it could be any old pillow, big, little, it doesn't make any difference. Okay, so we've done that. So we're going to take our combs, and they're bent this way. So I'm going to load it going the opposite direction. So they're bent towards me right now, and I'm just going to run my little clump of fiber all up in these combs. I'm going to load it up pretty good. Okay? Nice. Looks like I've brushed the dog. Now, we're going to take the other comb, and we're going to make them go the opposite direction of one another. So right now, the combs are going like this with each other. Okay? And I'm going to move this down a bit. All right, so we're going to just do like this. Now, it's kind of both on there, so that's okay. So we're just going to take that, do that, okay? And we're going to come with some more. We're going to load that again. You see how I'm taking them the same way. And we're going to come with some more. Okay? Now, most of it all is over here. Now I could keep going. See how I emptied it out? Keep going. And more is going to be on this side. Less and less is going to be on this side. Okay? Okay. So now I'm going to take them, both handles facing down, so the combs are facing the same way. And I'm going to take this comb, the empty one, I go to the top, and I'm going to kind of pick it down, just ever so slowly. And, you know, I'm going to grab a little bit, but I'm going to roll that piece of fiber off of that comb. All right. There we go. See how we got here? Now we're going to grab it off of there. And what we have is what they call a rowlap. Okay, so what I want you to do now that you have your little cigar piece of fiber is we're going to take it, and don't forget you've got a really short staple length. So if you pull it, you're going to pull it apart. But we're just going to pull it ever so slightly. And you know what? You may have to play with it for a minute to figure out just how much you can pull. So you're going to pull a little bit, pull a little bit. What I'm doing is just kind of stretching that rowlag out a little bit. This is called drafting, and this is called pre-drafting. Now, most of the time, and if this is really good wool and we were making yarn, we would be doing this as we spin it. But because this is less than perfect fiber, we're going to kind of do it ahead of time. It's also kind of a beginner trick as well. Okay, so we're going to kind of just, and see how long it's getting? But yet it's still together. I've managed to, you know, it's not coming apart. And you know what? If it comes apart, don't stress out about it, because guess what? If it comes apart, you kind of overlap it a little bit and keep going, and it'll stick back together again. Really forgiving. It really is. This is another technique that I would show beginning spinners, because, you know, it's one thing to learn how to spin the yarn. It's another thing to draft it and spin it at the same time. So this kind of made it a little easier for them. But it's also a good technique when working with this really short fiber. All right, so we're going to go all the way. And you know what? You may have thick spots. You may come across a lump. Pull it out. Oh, see, I do. I feel a lump right there. So I'm going to go ahead. Well, I was able to pull it, so we'll leave it in there. But you know what? If you come across a knot or something, just pull it out and throw it to the side. Doesn't matter. You got a whole pull it. going to give you a ton of string. Okay, so look, I've got all this out of that little bitty Rolex. All right, I'm going to put my cones to the side. Okay, so now I've already started this because I did up a little bit beforehand. The key to this is going to be always twist the spindle in the same direction. You can't switch directions halfway through. You'll unspin the yarn that you've already spun. And it won't set right, and it'll break. It'll make a point where it'll break. So, I have always spun to the right. Always, 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 always. Now, what you might want to do is stick it between your knees like this, and I know you can't see, but you know what I'm doing. Make sure I'm drafted out a bit, not too much, just a bit, and then spin. Alright, and we're going to go draft out a bit, and you know that if draft out a bit, that spin will carry up your piece. Okay? And when we get so far, you're going to unhook it, and you're going to wrap it. And then you're going to, I'd leave about, it looks like about 8 or 9 inches. And wrap it around your hook again. Now you're going to add your piece. Okay? And what we're going to do is kind of overlap it. You see how I've overlapped it? I'm going to kind of pre-spin it with my fingers. I'm going to incorporate it. Now take this and do that, because otherwise your end will spin right down into the string, and you don't want that. So let's just give it a good spin, get that twist established at that connection. And you know what? Because of the less than ideal fiber that we're working with, you may have a lump there. Doesn't matter. Doesn't make any difference. Alright, we're going to go ahead and spin. And we're going to go ahead. And we're going to drop that spindle. And we're going to spin that up our string. Now, this is, like I said, nothing you're going to learn how to do immediately. And probably the biggest takeaway, and see, here we go. Okay, so aren't separated, so no big deal. So we're going to take this and we're going to wrap it around till we've got our amount that we like to have. Around the hook we go. We're going to stick it between our legs, and we're going to take our end and we're going to put a little twist in that connection. And off we go again. Alright, and we just keep going, and we keep going, and we keep going until we've got enough rope. Oops, see, that's why you keep that end away. No big deal. We just pull it out. We keep going, we keep going, we keep going until you have the amount you want. Now, you could continue filling this up and filling this up. I mean, you can go all the way down, okay, and it could really be full. Or you'll find if it gets too full, it kind of really quits spinning on you. So you're only going to want to do so much before you're going to want to break it away. Okay, now you've got to set the twist that's in this yarn. There's a couple of ways you can do that. Suggestion to you is to find, see this picture frame right here? That's an 11 by 14. That's perfect size to make a, well, I hate to call it a nitty-notty because it's not a nitty-notty, but it's going to be a frame that you're going to wrap your string around, okay? Ideally, you're going to dunk it in some hot water, and you're going to set it by the fire to dry. Not too close. You don't want to melt it. This is just pillow stuffing. Set it in the sun if you can. Even better. Actually, if you just set it for about a week anywhere, it's going to eventually set the twist. So, you know, you're going to wrap it around and wrap it around, and you're going to be pulling the whole time. And you know what? If it breaks on you, don't sweat it. Just tie the ends together and keep wrapping it around the frame. Because the point is, you now have something that you can use to tie your tent down with. You now have something that you can fish with. You now have something, I mean, maybe you need to tie some wood together. Maybe you need to fix a piece of clothing. You need to tie a hole shut. Or, I mean, whatever uses you would have in an emergency situation for a piece of string, you can make that string out of an old pillow casing, old pillow stuffing, pillow stuffing, which I guarantee everybody's going to have an old pillow somewhere, or stuffed animal. Same stuffing is in a stuffed animal. This, by having I used to spin for the Historical Society, and I also had a booth where I sold my spindles and things at the Civil War reenactment here in our hometown. And these little Amish boys kept coming up and buying my spindles, and I finally got to talking to them, and I'm like, you know, what are you guys doing with the spindles? And they were like, oh, well, we make fishing line. And I'm like, of course you do. Of course you do. So it's something that is going to be useful to you. It's something that you're going to want to learn. It's something you're going to want to practice. And you know what? You can sit in front of the TV after you make your spindle, which, let me add an extra to that. Okay. On this one. Notice on this one that there's a notch. See that? There is not a notch in this one. There's not a notch in that one. There is, however, a notch in my fancy one. See that? Notch. That's handy. I advise you do that, especially in learning, because that kind of, and put that notch somewhere where it's going to be the opposite of where you wrap that string, okay? That's going to help stabilize that string for you and just give you a little extra hold while you're learning how to move things and how to hold things, which is really most of the key to doing this, is just learning how to handle the string and the spindle, and learning how much you can pull it, how much you can't pull it, you know, what are the limits of the fiber you're working with. That's all this really is. You can continue and continue. You can get really brave and get really thin. I kept it thick because I wanted, you know, I really wanted you to see what was going on. I wanted to give you a good example. You know, wrap it twice if you need to. If you need a little extra, something, wrap it twice. And just go and go and go. And just spin and spin and spin. Now, if you can, get a hold of some good wool. And my suggestion, it's inexpensive, moderately priced, called merino wool. And you can get it for about $16 a pound from a place called Paradise Fibers on the internet. That's the place I buy a lot of my fiber at. It will be easier for you to spin, especially since you're learning. You know, and you probably can take all the breaks you can get. Then after you've got a good idea of what's happening, then cut open that old pillow and start giving that a try, because it's a lot harder. I mean, the shorter the staple, like I said, the harder it is. Brandon got some of that merino for you, just because I wanted you to see. Let me just get a bit of it for you here. Alright, this is merino wool, basic merino wool. I'm sure you've heard of the sweaters. Now, merino wool has roughly same staple length as the Leicester, okay? Oh, roughly 4, sometimes 5 inches. Has a pretty fine crimp, which is, it's like they took a crimper to it, which also affects the spinability as well. And it affects how coarse it is. This is a pretty soft wool. Now, just so you see the difference, we'll load this up with our merino. I don't have very much here. It's not going to make a very thick rolag. Okay. Let me get a few. It's easier to do it off my knee. Alright. I'm not going to worry about emptying the other one because I just want to quickly just kind of show you. Okay, so here's our wool. Now, sorry if you hear all the cussing in the background. Papa's watching Cat Williams. Okay, so got it on here. And what I did was just kind of twisted it till it held, okay? Same kind of thing I showed you earlier. All right. Whoop. Okay. Kind of really hoping that language doesn't get on my film. All right. Now see the difference. Uh-oh. I don't know what that was. Electricity. Shit is hitting the fan while I'm doing my Prepstead project. And I mean, I go all the way down to the floor with mine. And let me tell you something. I taught my 7-year-old daughter how to do this. I've got a picture of her doing it. All right. Yeah. What is happening with the electricity? Great. Anyway, I'm going to put this in my mouth because I don't want to lose what I did. Unhook it. Let's see how that pulls back. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to wrap it around there and get it up there. And I'm going to wrap this around it. You know, just like you would wrap a string so it stays on there. And I would keep going. Now, you saw how that pulled back on itself? Like, okay, I'll probably do it right now. See that? That's the twist. And that's why you're going to set the twist. So it stays, it relaxes, and stays in a straight line. Energy, we want that energy to be more evenly distributed, okay? So that's why we're going to wrap it around our picture frame or our Nitty Knotty. This is some yarn that I have spun, dyed myself and spun. I also made this out of a 1/4-inch dowel rod and some cheap little spindles. And I think I bought these spindles from the same company I bought the wheels from, and I think I just got this down at the hardware store. And then drilled a hole in it, and glued it on there, and made myself a Nitty Knotty. So you can make one of these too, and you know what? It wouldn't be a bad idea to do it. It'd be a great way to store. You can make them short, you can make them long. I made mine so that it makes 2 yards. So one wrap, see how it's crossed, so we're talking up, down is 2 yards. So I could also measure my yarn as I was going as well. But you can make a short one. It's a great way to store your string in your backpack or, you know, your bug out bag, whatever. Just a really useful, and I mean, it cost me like $5 to make this. Cheap, cheap, cheap. I've had this forever. To buy one of these, anywhere from $70 to $100. It's ridiculous, I know. Okay, so anyway, that was a super uber quick tutorial and I know I went kind of fast, and I just kind of wanted to introduce you to the whole thing. If you're interested in learning more, please feel free to contact me. Get online. There's lots of free resources. There's lots of YouTube videos. Lots of ways. But mostly it's going to take just practice. And it's going to take just sitting and doing it. Sitting while you're drinking a beer. Sit while you're watching a movie. You know, whatever. Get the kids involved. It's fun for them. Like I said, I taught my 7-year-old granddaughter, or daughter, how to do it. She's almost 19 in college now, but, you know, it's not a hard thing to do. You just got to do it. So anyway, that's our Prep Shed project for the weekend. And, man, a prep out.